I'm now on the Vintage Sports Car Club stand with Duncan Ricketts. Good morning, Duncan, and welcome to Race Retro 2019.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Lovely to be here.
So, can we have a little bit of discussion about this car, please? The Challenger. Can you give me a little brief history, as brief as you can?
Yeah, there isn't so much history to this car. Quite some nice details. It was basically Reg Parnell's own conception. He decided that the British car industry, or racing industry anyway, wasn't competing with the Continentals. Very much at the same time that ERA had the same thoughts, I think, because if you look at the E-Type ERA that I run, very similar car. He decided that it should be, independent suspension, which is what he ended up with. He designed his own engine, which was based on a twin cam head that he'd already designed for the MG block that he ran in an earlier car. Yeah. He then designed all the block to go with it, two-stage supercharging, quite an exotic thing. It was going to give lots of power,
I was going to say, yeah.
But he had quite a few different people involved. McElroy was involved with the design of the supercharger, I think the chassis. There was a guy called Alan, and if you look at the name Challenger, in the middle is the word Alan.
Yeah,
right.
That's
and,
right.
and that
That's
was
right, yeah.
That was why it was called Challenger, or Challenge as it was first called. But basically, he designed this car, got various little outfits to make all the bits, or big outfits, some of them. Rubio and did the chassis. He got it to the point where it was almost finished, and bear in mind the war was sort of tickling along at that point. I'm not really sure, did people know it was definitely going to happen or what? But he made a last-minute decision to put an ERA engine in it, because he had one in the workshop, because the other engine wasn't finished, and ran it once pre-war with an ERA engine, and that was up Prescott. And then after the war, the engine had to go back to the owner of the ERA. Yeah. This is all storytelling. I mean, it's only word of mouth. Yes. There's nothing definite, but that's what seemed to have happened. Yeah. The original engine he designed, no one knows where that went. There's odd drawings on the back here of it, but we don't know where it went. So he had a Delage engine in, a straight 8 Delage, so he put that in the car, redid the body. I don't know why he redid the body, but they put another body on. It's had more bodies on it than it did races. I think it had about 5 different bodies that I've seen. But I think it did 3 or 4 races, and wasn't totally successful. They put pneumatic front suspension on it at one point, which was a disaster. So it's a very historic car. As far as I know, it's Raymond May's only car that he ever made. Right, so it's got that distinction, and he sold it shortly after the war, and it eventually had a 2-seater body put on it by Paul Emery of the Emerson fame.
I know the one. Yeah.
And then it got sold. No one really know where it went, and it went off to America, and it went around America. Different owners owned it and put it in workshops, and ended up in the Lagonda Club because it had been fitted with a V12 Lagonda engine at that point. So people thought it was some kind of exotic Le Mans car from the from the Lagonda area. So it got lost. I remember Dennis Jenkinson saying he thought it was in America. No one knew where it was. I can tell you the history of that, but you probably haven't got time. I don't know.
So when did you take possession of it?
Well, Dean Butler, a guy called Bill Morris had this thought that it might be in the Lagonda register. He went over, or got Dean Butler, who was in America, to look at this obscure car. And it turned out to be the Challenger, the bare bones of the Challenger. So Dean did a deal with the guy that owned it. He loved the car, but only the shape of the body. So he kept the body. Dean bought the chassis and the engine back. He sold the Lagonda engine. And then I think he realised that, it's a lot of work to make it back into the car. So he put it up for sale with the engine. He had an ERA engine, but I couldn't afford the engine. No. So I came up with an offer. He accepted my offer. And I bought the mechanical parts of the car, and then slowly, bit by bit, I got an original block, head, got crank made, rods, pistons, and so I built it up bit by bit.
So how long do you think that took you?
How long do I think it took me? About 15 years, but to be honest, I mean, it sat in storage for a long time, and I just slowly kept picking bits up. When I saw something, I thought, put it by for the Challenger. And then it got to the point where a good friend of mine died, and he was doing an article on the car, Sandy Skinner, and he died, and we wanted a memorial for him, and we thought, wouldn't it be fun if we could get the car done for Prescott, which is where it was first run in a VSCC type meet. So it was really a struggle to get the car finished, but we got it there and we got it running, and that was a memorial for Sandy. So that's how it finished, because otherwise, if I hadn't have decided to do that, there's a lot of energy went into it, but if I hadn't have decided, it probably wouldn't have been finished. And so it probably wouldn't be here today. It'd still be in my workshop in bits, because I wouldn't have had that final effort to finish it.
Yeah, you had a goal.
Oh yeah, I had a goal. But now we've got a month time. It's supposed to be at Goodwood for the members meet, and it's been up Prescott 3 times, but that's not really a rundown. You know, I need to seriously get it on the track now and give it a good going round, make sure all the handling is all right and all that sort of thing.
So will you be entering into any of the Formula Vintage meetings?
I will. I was going to enter it for the first Silverstone, but then the members meeting, I've done it once in the past, but they have a Reg Parnell race, and when they realised I got the Reg Parnell car, they want it in the race, and I thought it'd be lovely to bring it out in that race. So I've committed myself to that. If it's running after that meeting, and I know what these things are like, there'll be a dozen things to do to it before it races again, because there always are. If it's all okay, I'm going to enter Silverstone with either the E-Type or this, and if this is running after Goodwood, then this will go to Silverstone, and then we'll see how it goes. But the thing is, they're expensive to run. I mean, I don't think people realise just the amount of fuel you get through, you know, the amount of energy you have to put into these things. They're not things you can get to a meeting and just press a button and they start. No, and if you're on your own, which I tend to be, and driving it as well, you know, it's quite wearing. So I want to bring it out for special occasions at the moment, until I've got it really working well. Then we'll see.
It's a great job. You've done a fantastic job of it. It's good to see it.
Yeah, it's lovely. I mean, I'm still gobsmacked myself, because, as I say, until Prescott, it wasn't a car. We literally got it together, and the first time I really saw it was at Prescott, because I didn't really notice it in the workshop, because it was too confined a space. You don't see the thing as it was. And that, you know, it's been put back into the shed, and I've had life to get on with since then, because I put so much time and effort into it. So I look at it now and I see what you see. I'm still not used to it.
But the other thing, it must be great getting into the seat and actually driving it.
Well, don't forget, I've got another one which is just as great to get into. So
yeah, but I mean, it's taking a long time, hasn't it? I mean, it's a one-off, and well, the other one was, but to actually finally race it must have been great.
Yeah, well, the other one there were 2 of. This is a one-off. Yeah, it's different. I mean, the thing is that I noticed when I drove it at Prescott, when I used to drive a B-Type ERA, pre-selector, there's a technique to that, and you get used to it, and it's a lovely feeling when you get used to it. The E-Type ERA I drive is all manual gearbox, double declutching. It's quite difficult. This is back to just like a pre-war ERA, you know, just like an early ERA, and that's quite different. It's quite different. You wouldn't think so. You're looking at them, you think they're very similar, but sitting in it and driving it is very much more of an earlier car than a late car. That was my impression when I drove it at Prescott anyway. So.
Well, thank you, Duncan, and I hope that you get this out as often as you can do, because we all want to see it, obviously.
Yeah, I'll do my best. As I say, it's difficult to keep them all going, but as long as it stays together, it'll come out. You know.
Thank you very much for the interview.
That's okay, thank you.
Thank you, Duncan, thank you.